So post-colonial countries in 1492, as the old children rhymes goes, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, landing in the Bahamas at first, and then sailed along the coast of Cuba and Hispaniola before returning to Spain to announce that he had discovered an alternative route to the Orient. This man, Christopher Columbus, born in Italy in 1451 and died in 1506. He has discovered America. Before the discovery of America, the map of the world was like that. That means the whole part over there that was blank. This is South Africa. Okay, this is UK, Russia, China. These are the parts. Okay, before the discovery, this is the discovery of this part. Before the discovery of Christopher Columbus, the map of the world was like that. Okay, that means the vast part. Canada, America, Latin America, Brazil, Argentina, all were out of human mind. So this man, Vasco da Gama, he said he discovered, he started his journey, and he from Italy, is it? He started his journey from Italy, and he thought, he came, after 3 years he returned, and he thought that he had discovered an alternative route to Orient. Orient means here. এখানে আসার একটা পথ আবিষ্কার করছে, এটা তার আইডিয়া ছিল। হ্যাঁ, after the discovery of Christopher Columbus, the map goes like that. That is the first part here. All part that was discovered by the Italian navigator Vasco da Gama. So previously we got the idea, that is, in 1492 Columbus sailed ocean blue and landed in the Bahamas at first, and sailed Bahamas here. Here he landed. Who? Vasco da Gama. Sorry, Columbus. And he thought that he has landed here, but actually he landed here. Okay, so Columbus did that journey, and before returning to Spain and announced that he had discovered an alternative route to the Orient, Columbus's main purpose was to discover the new routes to Asia. তার ইন্টেনশন কি ছিল? যে এশিয়াতে যাওয়ার একটা নতুন পথ আবিষ্কার করা। Okay, they can go quickly from Italy. You can go quickly here Italy, but if you go over there, Italy, Asia, Africa, and also the Asia. These are the part of Asia. Yeah. So from Italy, Columbus would go quickly to here from the land. But Columbus's idea was to discover a different route, that is through the Atlantic Ocean. This is the Atlantic Ocean, all the Atlantic Ocean. That is the Bay of Bengal. Okay. So that was his intention, but he discovered America. And his belief was strong that after crossing Atlantic, he will be reaching any part of Cuba or India. That was whose belief? Columbus's belief. Actually, the part where Columbus reached first time was the coast of Cathay of the West Indies. Cathay of West Indies. West Indies is not the name of a specific country. West Indies is the collection of 32 islands, most probably. That is the combination of called West Indies. So who is there? Columbus is there in Cathay. Cathay is the part of West Indies. West Indies are the islands situated on the other eastern part of the world called East Indies. So West Indies and East Indies. ম্যাপের উপরের সাইডটা কি? উত্তর, নর্থ। নিচের সাইডটা, ডান সাইডটা পূর্ব, আর এই সাইডটা পশ্চিম। সো উনি পৌঁছেছিলেন হচ্ছে ওয়েস্ট ইন্ডিজে। ওকে, সো আদার পার্ট দ্যাট ইজ দ্য ওয়েস্ট ইন্ডিজ, আদার আইডেন্টিটি দ্যাট ইজ West Indies and East Indies. Okay, in 92, at the time of celebrating 500 years of the Columbus's discovery, we get a different history on the Norwegian sailor had discovered North America 100 years before Columbus. When Columbus discovered America? 1492. In 1992, that means after 500 years of Columbus's discovery, it was mentioned that America was discovered by another Norwegian navigator. তার মানে কলম্বাসেরও 100 বছর আগে সেখানে কি আরেকজন নাবিক পৌঁছেছে। তাহলে যদি নাবিক ওখানে পৌঁছে থাকে তাহলে ওখানে অনেক মানুষজন ছিল। Okay, so that gives a different history. That was. So instead of observing Columbus's discovery, we get a different history. It means that other civilization had been living in America before Columbus's discovery. That is called red Indians. Actually, Columbus discovered America in 1492. What do you think? Were there any people over there? অবশ্যই তো ছিল। আমেরিকায় 1492 সালে কলম্বাস আমেরিকা আবিষ্কার করল, কিন্তু তার আবিষ্কারের আগে ওখানে অনেক মানুষ ছিল। তারাও জানতো না যে এইদিকে বিশাল আটলান্টিক মহাসাগরের উপরে বিশাল কয়েকটা মহাদেশ আছে, তারাও জানতো না। আবার ইউরোপ, এশিয়া, আফ্রিকার মানুষেরাও জানতো না যে ওইদিকে একটা বিশাল জায়গা রয়েছে। ওকে, বাট দ্য ম্যাটার ইজ দ্যাট দেয়ার হ্যাড বিন সাম পিপল, সেখানে মানুষ কিছু ছিল। Okay, that is the condition. It means that other civilization had been living in America before Columbus's discovery, and they had their identity in terms of language, place, and things. These people who had been living America before Columbus's discovery. Cuba in the world map, that where actually Columbus reached, in the red marked area Columbus reached. Cathay Pacific in the Cuba, Cathay Pacific Airways, more widely known as the Cathay Pacific, is the flag carrier of the Hong Kong with the head office. Okay, look here, that airport, the Cathay Tower, so many connections here. That place, that is Cathay Pacific Airways. The West Indies, these are the part of West Indies. Here, this mark here, West Indies, and opposite East Indies. West Indies and East Indies. East Indies, okay, that is East Indies. East Indies, look here, that is East Indies. Have you got the idea? East Indies. So West Indies there and East Indies here. East Indies here and here. West Indies and East Indies. So Columbus is this part. Okay, so that is East Indies and West Indies and East Indies. So that is a clear division between two Indies, West Indies and East Indies. This red circle area, West Indies, and that is the East Indies. Okay, so European in 1992 could still afford to celebrate the discovery of the New World, which was the condition of, and which had to lead formation of the great empires and the export of English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese to the millions of new speakers. But belatedly, it has come to see that there was also another version of the story. Okay, so when Columbus discovered America, then what happened? People from England, Portugal, Germany, France, all Europe, Spain, they all went to this new land. New land where? এত বড় জায়গা, lots of prospect. Okay, you will be cultivating over there, you will make a house or farm large, so prospect is there. So the European people got a utopian dream. That means if you get the heavenly wealth and all unlimited wealth, after Columbus's discovery, European people had the idea that they will be having unlimited power if they go to America, and they do so, and they did so. Okay, all the people went to America. Okay, and pre-Columbus has virtually come to signify prehistory with the arrival of the Europeans. The civilian of the Americans, their language and their names were doomed. So when lots of the people came from Spain, Europe, all Europe, England, Portuguese, actually the people who had been living in America, they were doomed. তাদের ভাষা, সাহিত্য এবং অনেকে হয়তো তাদের নিশ্চিহ্ন হয়ে গেছে। তারা হয়তো আস্তে আস্তে, যেমন আমেরিকার, যদি এই পার্টটাকে আমরা ধরি, তারা যখন আমেরিকা এখানে এসে পৌঁছলো তখন এই ঝাঁকে ঝাঁকে মানুষ এই পথ ধরে এখানে আসা সম্ভব, এবং তারা যে ভার্জিনিয়া স্টেট আমেরিকার এই জায়গায়, ঠিক আছে, সো ভার্জিনিয়া তাদের কুইনের নাম, ভার্জিনিয়া, এই সব যে জায়গাগুলোতে এসে পড়ছিল। সো এখানে যে রেড ইন্ডিয়ানরা ছিল আস্তে আস্তে এই জায়গাগুলো থেকে তারা চলে গেল ভিতরের দিকে। হ্যাঁ, কিছু কিছু জায়গায় তারা they got in this center. Okay. But because this area was crowded, whenever you will be close to the ocean, you will have lots of prospects. And that is for our Cox's Bazar and other seaports, Post-Colonial and other seaports, Chittagong seaports. Okay. So the people who came from Europe, they were in the coastal area, and other parts, that means the Red Indians and the people who had been living in America before Columbus's discovery, they went in the midland America, and some of them were killed, and their language, culture, everything were doomed and demolished. That was the condition of this country. Okay, so that were doomed. In the study of the relationship between Europeans and the native Caribbeans between 1942 and 1727, aptly entitled Colonial Encounters. এই যে 1492 থেকে 1727, কত, 1500 পুরোটা, 1600 পুরোটা, আবার 1727, তার মানে এইদিকে 227 আর প্রায় 230 বছর। এই 230 বছরের মধ্যে এই ইউরোপিয়ানদের মধ্যে যুদ্ধ চলেছে কাদের? এই যে যারা এখানে রেড ইন্ডিয়ানরা আমেরিকাতে থাকতো, এনকাউন্টার্স। তারা এক পর্যায়ে এসে এনকাউন্টার্স বিবৃত, এবং তারপরে এসে কত সালে স্বাধীনতা লাভ করলো? 1772 or 74 most probably. Okay, so the colonial encounters. Peter Hume discusses accounts of the discoveries, citing several respected 20th century anthropologists and historical works, questioning the premises upon which scholarly judgment were made. He draws out attention of the assumption that underline a great deal of European invention into the non-European culture. So what we have got, in other words, in text that claims historical and significant accuracy. So that was this is Peter Hume, professor in the Department of Literature, University of the Essex, UK. So he said, after Columbus's discovery in 1942, European like English, French, Spanish and Portuguese started to come to the New World, that means in America. But there was a different story at the opposite side of the coin. The New World had a confrontation with the old native inhabitants of the New World. So Spanish, French, Portuguese, English, they had confrontation with the Native Americans. For the arrival of the Europeans, pre-Columbian civilization of the Americans, where their languages, their names were disposed or exterminated or doomed. Okay? Peter Hume, an English writer, in his history claimed that the relationship between Europeans and the native Caribbean between 1942 and 1727 at the colonial encounters. Peter Hume cited the examples of several respected 20th century anthropological and the historical works in favor of his study. Peter Hume investigated the reason of the European investigation into the non-European countries and culture. Peter Hume asked why European people investigated the other parts of the world. কেন? এদের কি খাই দেয় কোনো কাজ নাই? এরা কি সমুদ্রে ঘুরে বেড়াবে? কেন তারা এরকম সমুদ্রে ঘুরে বেড়াচ্ছিল, আমেরিকা ঘুরে বেড়াচ্ছিল? What is the reason? Europeans claimed that the other civilization in pre-Columbian time were truculent, ferocious, warlike, hostile, vindictive and cannibals as well. Peter Hume asked why Europeans rushed to America, why Europeans rushed to Asia and Africa. These people, that means the European people, they had a logic. That means they are warlike people, they are cannibals, they are uncivilized people. So this is their duty to make them civilized. That is the white man's burden. Okay. The early explorer desired to have fabulous wealth. First time, after the Columbus, when the others European, they thought that desired for a fabulous wealth that was said to be waiting for them to find. So in America, they thought that lots of wealth, a utopian country and the place had been waiting for them. ইউরোপিয়ানরা ভাবছিল যে আমেরিকাতে কি তাদের মধ্যে যে একটা ইউটোপিয়ান একটা রাজ্য, ওয়েলথ, সাম্রাজ্য সমস্ত এখানে অসংখ্য, হ্যাঁ, ছড়াছড়ি, বাট ক্যারিড উইথ দেম আ বিলিফ ইন দ্য সিভিলাইজিং মিশন of their own culture, a belief which, as Hume points out, okay, so that is the situation of American Columbus's discovery of the new world. So here we see that is the confrontation was going on for Carlos Fuentes. Now when the confrontation was going on between new England, New World and the Old World, this Mexican novelist, he come up with his works. Okay, this Mexican novelist Carlos Fuentes claimed that the European had a desire for a new and better world. He said that actually European, they didn't have any civilizing mission. They had. He is a Mexican novelist. Mexican, where is Mexico? You know, that is just beyond America. That is the Mexico. So this poet said that they had a desire for better world, one which would be ideals of civilization. He said that America was imagined, discovered and named as a promise of new golden age, and the concept of the noble savage was born, and the promise of utopia carried inevitable disappointment. Okay, so that is the condition of the European people and the American people. Okay, so another poet we have got, that is Ole Soyinka, Nigerian playwright. Yeah? He also came up with idea of this colonial enterprise. So he came up the history of the Nigerian forefront. Okay, and another writer, he is from Nigeria, that is Chidi Amuta. Chidi Amuta. Okay, so they come forward with their literary. So Nigeria, Mexico. Okay, so that is, and the most important thing that did by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Kenyan writer, he did, and he did the most important thing. He had been studying, he had been teaching in the University of Nairobi. Okay, there had the department of English. He said, having department of English, that is still we are servicing the UK's power or England's literature. So he demolished the department of English and he got two departments. One comparative literature, name department, and another comparative language. So not department. So he said a small group, Department of University of Nairobi, he established the two broadly best comparative departments, one of the study of the language and the other of the study of literature. Okay, so he did Ngugi. So Ngugi said that, and argued that by continuing to teach the English tradition in an African context, Africa was turned into an extension of the West. Ngugi said that teach English literature is the extension of English literature. Okay, so we will be reading comparative literature. We will be comparing African literature with English literature. We will be comparing English literature with language with Gikoko language, because that language is called Gikoko. 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 Okay, the Kenyan language is called Gikoko. Okay, so he said that we have to do this. Another writer we have got Nadin Godimar, South African writer. So he also came up with this idea. She was recognized as a woman who, through her magnificent epic writing, has, in the words of the Alfred Nobel, and been a very great benefit of humanity. So he is also idea. So these African writers propose an Africa-centered consciousness and the study of literature that starts with Africa and considers other literature in relation to the African center. So this African literature, the Nigerian writer, they thought that African writers proposed that African literature will be centered on Africa. Not African literature will be compared with European literature. Whatever we have, that is our literature. Whatever we have, that is our language. And that is the idea of post-colonialism. Post-colonialism is a revolt of Eurocentric hegemony. European people, they said their language, culture and literature is the best. They dominate African and Asian literature. So, post-colonialism, they said that yes, this is a revolt, that what is our language? Our language is Gikuku, our language is Bengali, our language is Bahasa Malaysia. Whatever may be the language and literature, our language is the best. Okay, so the African-centered consciousness grew with the writings of Nadine Godemar, Chidi Amuta and Carlos Fuentes and others. Ngigua Thiengo. That is the, and we have another, Chinua Achebe. And Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart can be compared with the showroom of post-colonial literature. Whenever you will be talking about the post-colonial literature, you have to talk about these things fall apart. That is the, if a company will have several products, then all products will be in the showroom, isn't it? প্রাণ RFL এর যতগুলো প্রোডাক্ট আছে সেরকম শোরুমে পাবেন না, তাদের শোরুমে পাওয়া যাবে না। সেরকম পোস্ট কলোনিয়ালিজমে কি হয়, সমস্ত কিছু থিংস ফল অ্যাপার্টের মধ্যে একদম বর্ণনা করা হয়েছে। ওকে, with the characteristics of Aconcagua. Aconcagua. Okay, so that is Chinua Achebe, the Nigerian writer. So post-colonial literary theory has begun to deal with the problems of transmuting time into space, with the present struggling out with the past, and like the most recent post-colonial literature, it attempts to construct a future. Okay, so that is the post-colonial literature in brief. That means Eurocentric hegemonic power was dominated by this Eurocentric that African right